everyone. Hope everyone is well. Okay, a big parsha. Matos-Masai-The. It's a double parsha. Even though it's a leap year, we have a whole extra month, and usually we use that month and divide all the parshas, the double parshas, into single parshas. But Matos-Masai often stays together, most times. Yes. Wow, beautiful. Oh, that's such a special. Really? Wow. Wow. Baruch Hashem. It's a beautiful parsha. Good. Continue simchas and all the parsha, especially about this Maaseh. So we have a few very important topics. I'm going to start from Maaseh because I don't know if I'm going to get to other topics, and I'd like to start off with that. So Maaseh, we have all the boundaries of Eretz Yisrael. Wow. Not simple at all. There's a lot of opinions. What exactly, where the boundaries are of Eretz Yisrael are in terms of Shemitah, Yovel, the Mitzvah, Kibush, Haaretz. But here's where it is. Here's where they argue. It's over this week's Parsha. And it says in Lamed Dalet, Tzazvnei Yishuv Martalehem, Ki atem ba'im el Haaretz Canaan, Zot ha'aretz shetipol lachem v'nachla Eretz Canaan l'gvul teha. He talks about the Negev, Mitzvah, Yam HaMelach, Kedma. Yeah, the salt sea on the Kedma. What's Kedma? East, where the sun comes from. Gvul Negev, Akrabim. And he has a lot of famous places over here. Some we know, some we don't know exactly. Nachla, Mitzrayim, Gvul Hayam, Vayalachem, Yam HaGadol. What's Yam HaGadol? Mediterranean. A few weeks back in the halacha we discussed Yam HaGadol. When you go to the Mediterranean, you say Ose Yam HaGadol, because it's Yam HaGadol. It's connected to Israel in stature. Or do you mean Yam HaGadol has to be big, like the oceans? That's a machlokes. Gvul Tzafon, Yam HaGadol, Tutulachem, Horahar. On the Yam HaGadol, you keep going up north, you get to Horahar. Horahar is where Aaron was buried. He didn't make it to Israel. There's two Horahars, obviously. Those are the Gvul up north, which of course is a very delicate topic today. Where is halachic Gvul of Eretz Yisrael? And then it makes the full circle around Israel, and they have different shittas lining up exactly where the border is, how it affects Shemitah, Truma, Maaser, and Akiva Sha'aretz. A lot of fun stuff. And Yovel. According to the Rambam, all the Shvatim, Eliyahu is going to direct us, all of us, to our Shvatim, to our ancestral land. So this is all affected by our Parsha. Amazing. Famous question: is there a mitzvah in this week's Parsha when it says, "Varashtem zaus v'yishavtem ba"? Go ahead, conquer the land, live in the land. Is that applicable to Tafshin Pei Dalet 2024? These psukim, the way I like categorizing it, when you read psukim in the Torah, are they history or are they halacha? Collecting man is history. Adam and Achava with the forbidden fruit in Gan Eden is history where we learn lessons from. So it's not history. It's history with lessons, obviously. Putting on tefillin is halacha. Tzitzis, Shabbos, halacha. The borders of Israel and conquering Israel. History or halacha? So he says, my parnas is here, my social framework here, my learning is here. She says, listen, I want to go. We're going to sell our home here, back Lawrence, and we could buy a 3-foot apartment in Ramat Shemesh. And it even comes with running water included. And he says, come on. And he says, come. And he says, come on, halacha is what? Can she force him to move? Absolutely. And the other way around too, goes both ways. And the Rambam brings it down. And the Rambam in Hilchos Malachim talks about living in Israel, how people, the rabbis used to come and kiss the land when they came here. And even if you walk 4 amos, he's zocher to olam haba. And the mitzvah is to be here. So when the people say the Rambam Zakat is a mitzvah, it means technically it's not on his list of 613. If you open up any era, just open up randomly, Hilchos Shabbos. So Hilchos Shabbos in the Rambam, you open up, and how many 613 mitzvahs are there? Yesh Chamesh, 5. Lishpos b'shvi, rest on shvi. Lola, not to do malacha. Lola and nosh b'shabbat. Who would ever think that a basting can't give out punishments on Shabbat? It's one of the 613. Lola says chutz mitgvul, you can't go outside the tchum, and the kadesh make kiddush. All the malachas are included under Lola sos b'malachas. So there's only 5. You go to other malachas, you might have many more. You never know. You have to explore each of the hechos yantiv. How many hechos yantiv? So just let's see. Shtei Mesrei. Lishpos to rest on the first day Pesach, not do malacha. Rest on the last day Pesach, not to do malacha. Lishpos rest on Shavuos, not to do malacha. Rest on Rosh Hashanah, not to do malacha. First day of Sukkot rest, not to do malacha. Last day of Sukkot, okay, so he has 12. That's who he divides up. So he has all 613. By going through the Rambam, this is one of the 2 major books. It's 14 books together. I have 2 volumes here. I have one of the 2 volumes here, and you'll get all 613 mitzvahs organized in the Rambam. It's incredible, incredible work. So does he list in when Toshin Hilchos Malachim about Eretz Yisrael as one of 60? No. Why? Good question. He doesn't. But it doesn't mean he doesn't talk about moving to and the importance of being. It just doesn't count as one of 613 for whatever reason. Fine. So the Ramban Nachmanides, these are in the 1200s. So he writes that there's mitzvahs the Rambam should have counted, meaning they both agree with the Gemara Makos at 613 mitzvahs, but they argue of what they are. The Gemara did not list the 613 for us. So the rabbis argue it out. They agree on most of them, but there's some differences. So the Ramban is most famous on the list of mitzvahs that he thinks should have been on the assays and others should not be on the list. They're the most famous. The list consists of 17 mitzvos that he thinks the Rambam did not count, that should have been counted. The most famous of the list is which one? Mitzvah Dalid is the mitzvah of what? Is Eretz Yisrael. And he quotes our Parshat. So he holds it as one of the 613. This is the Ramban, Nachmanides. Now, yeah. Yeah, the Ramban Nachmanides criticizes Rambam. He respectfully argues and says this should have been included too. Our Parshat of Ras is as Yishavte Bashpik. And he goes on, and we'll go a little bit, we'll summarize a bit what he says. In the famous mitzvah, Sasei Dalid, where he writes, we have to inherit the land that God gave us. Don't give it up to the Umot HaOlam. Give it up to the Umot HaOlam, or just to abandon it and leave it to become desolate. That's why 2005, when we gave up Gush Katif, which of course the halachic shaila is Gush Katif as a part of Eretz Yisrael or not, another fantastic shaila, and needs to be analyzed. But assuming it's part of Eretz Yisrael, so that gets into the very, very big shaila of can you give up Eretz Yisrael for what they thought was the concept of land for peace? Okay. Hopefully anyone with any understanding knows that the concept is absolutely absurd. But you had people back in the day, especially after 78, Begin and Sadat, they worked out a peace deal. We can argue 40 years later, we're still at peace with the other superpower in the Middle East. And so you can argue back and forth. We gave up the whole Sinai, but it's quiet. Even you would have thought during Gaza, the last 9-10 months, we'd be having a major explosion with Egypt, especially when we took over the Philadelphia corridor, and we see that they happened without realizing that all the weapons happened to get into Gaza that Egypt just didn't know. So So you'd think that, the relationship would have been destroyed and the peace would be over with, then we still have a functional peace. So based on that, 78, some people thought 95 Oslo, Gush Katif, of course, even without looking back in hindsight. Everyone looks back in hindsight, it's insanity. Even looking back, they had Sadat and Begin worked out a deal. 2005, there's no deal. We just pulled out. Basically saying we're losers, we're weak, we're nothing. And all the bombing that you guys did over the years was successful, and we're running away with our tails between our legs. The light keeps going off and on. So I don't know. So now we all know there's not your land for peace. That's over. Okay, this peace for peace that we did with the Abram Accords. That's the only possible model. Okay, and anyone that thinks somehow you're going to go ahead have land for peace is just whatever. It's living in a delusional world. It's just not the reality. So, but you have the halachic shaila. Can you give up land? Because you're violating this mitzvah. Ramban openly says that what? You can't give it over. Lo nezva biyad umos. So the rabbis who defended land for peace said, yes, it's true you can't give it up, but it's pikuach nefesh. And you could violate this mitzvah for the sake of pikuach nefesh. You drive on Shabbos, you don't kippur pikuach nefesh. So you go ahead and pull off this land, and ostensibly you're going to get peace, which what they thought. And now, halachically, you're allowed to do that. Others argue, no. Besides the fact that you're delusional, besides that unbelievable mistake you're making, besides that, you're making a halachic mistake. Boy, it sounds like they're on solid grounds. They're on solid grounds. All mitzvahs are pushed off for what? Pikuach nefesh. Except for what? Avodah zarah, you don't kill someone to save your life. You don't do idolatry to save your life. And you don't have prohibited relationships. Besides those, you do violate all the other mitzvahs. So it sounds like it makes sense. The ones who are against land for peace, not just because it's silly, but because it's luckily wrong, is why? Because the mitzvah kiva Haaretz that the Ramban is describing, it means going and conquering Israel. When you conquer a land, what inevitably, whether we like it or not, it's going to happen. People are going to die. That's war. And General Patton say, wars how people die. It's very sad. So the mitzvah tells us to conquer Israel. And if the Torah tells us to conquer Israel, that means even though people are going to what? Die. So that means that this mitzvah, you don't take into account, I'm not going to be involved because I might die. That's the mitzvah. So you don't bring in land for peace as an option because you can't say, pikuach nefesh pushes it off. No, built into the mitzvah of conquering Israel means that people are going to die. So this is not the classic mitzvah. Okay. So this Ramban over here about living in Israel, very, very important Ramban. And there was a whole discussion based on this Ramban. In terms of the acceptance of the Ramban, you have a book named Megillat Esther, not to be confused with Esther Mordechai from Tanakh. Someone wrote this, a commentary on the Ramban, defending the Rambam against the Ramban's criticism. And he says the following, and tell me if this sounds familiar. Nearly, Mashalomana Rav, why didn't the Rambam count this? He defends the Rambam. Yes, we have Matot-Masai-The that we're reading this week. Yes, it talks about Morashim conquering it. But that applied to Moshe, Yoshua, David, and all the generations in Israel until Nebuchadnezzar knocked it out. And Achar Shegalu me al admatam. Once we were knocked out, ein mitzvah zu. No, it's over. Ledoros ad bo hamashiach. Wow. You don't know the mitzvah anymore. So it's sort of, we ask history. Gan Eden is history. Collecting iman was history. Tefillin is halacha of all time. This is in the middle. It was a mitzvah that applied for a few generations. Going in Israel, staying in Israel, and conquering it. And it's over. Once we knocked out, not only is a mitzvah gone, but we can't even come back and force our way back in. Lo nimrod be'umos. We can't go in and try conquering it. Shalo yalu b'choma. And he argues with the Ramban, defends the Rambam for not counting it as a mitzvah. And this is huge. Why is this huge? It's Megillas Esther. Because which giant from the 1900s had the same platform that now is not a mitzvah, Yishuv Haaretz, but of Kiva Haaretz, but it's wrong. You're rebelling. The Satmar Rebbe is the Satmar Rebbe. That was the Satmar Rebbe. He quoted that Gemara, but he wasn't the first. The Megillas Esther right on the Rambam quoted it. Okay, so you have an amazing sugya over here. Amazing sugya. Halacha l'maisa, the Pischei Tshuva on the Shulchan Aruch 200 years ago said the majority of the opinions maintain that what the mitzvah does apply today, and that's why a spouse can force the spouse to move to Eretz Israel. Another halacha about Yishuv Haaretz is that you could go ahead and sign on Shabbos. You can ask a guy, sign the deed that you're selling me this land. Here's my pot of gold. You see it, sign it and register it and tabud, whatever you need to do. And he could write. You never can ask a guy to do malach on Shabbos. A doraisa. Even bris milah. The Erev is down, and you can't ask him to do something which is doraisa. He has to do the rabbanon to carry because it's not really rishus harabim, and it's a rabbanon carry. You can't ever ask. The only time the Shulchan Aruch permits asking a guy to do a malacha from the Torah is when? Say, well, you're buying his land from in Eretz Israel. Only time. And I know it. It's amazing. So the psak is like the Ramban. And then to finish off with a great story and a great 3 weeks lesson. Amazing. 1980. Rabbi Tzvi Glatt from Brooklyn, New York. Made Aliyah earlier, a few years earlier. And he came along, he was learning in Merkaz Arav, writing all day, writing, by Shtend, learning day and night. He goes to visit Hebron, he's gunned down by the terrorists, Yimach Shemam V'Zechronam. And unbelievable, Levaya, what a tragedy. And his friends cleaning up his Shtender, his work, he sees the wad of papers. He's writing in Eretz Israel. The Mitzvah Yishuv Haaretz going to the Gemara, Tanakh, Rishon, Machon, everyone. And they want to say, you know what a great tribute to do what? To put it as a book. Which probably what he wanted to do. What a great way to commemorate him forever. They bring it to all the rabbis, Shiva Merkaz Rav, Rabbi Yosef, all the Gedolim, and they all sign, read his book. They bring it to Rav Moshe Feinstein in America. It's the end of his life. 85, passed away. It's 1981 now. He was, at the end of his career already writing. He writes at Skam, and I read the book, and I especially read chapter 5, where you write about my position on Eretz Israel, where he quoted Rav Moshe, and he rejected this 20-year-old little kid, quotes Rav Moshe and says Moshe's wrong, in a respectful way, but he was quite clear. And he quoted the Ramban, Rav Tzvi Glatt, Hashem Yikom Damo, quoted the Ramban and says Rav Moshe, he got it wrong. In a respectful way. I'm putting it that way, but it was a respectful way. And what happens? Moshe says, I read the book, and I especially read Parak A, the 5th chapter. I think you're wrong. I hold my position. But read the book. It's amazing to read the book. Amazing what this man accomplished in his life. And it's a great tribute to learn about Eretz Israel, and a great commemoration to him. And that is amazing Torah for all year long, especially during the 3 weeks. Because Rav Moshe is teaching us how to have a good argument. This is what we call machlokes, l'shem shamayim. And that's how arguments are supposed to be, where we don't put down the other side as kofrim, as heretics, and this, and the chutz lamachaneh. There's arguments. There's arguments in Klal Yisrael. There's always been arguments in Klal Yisrael. That's from the Gemara's times. You already see there's not a page without arguments. And can we argue and go ahead and say, Shem Shemayim? This is my understanding. I think you're wrong. And when you think the other person is wrong, it doesn't mean you try to give them the credit, maybe. No, I think it's wrong. think it's a wrong position, but that doesn't take away that he's a tzaddik, he's a chassid, he's not a chacham. I just disagree. And that is the approach that we need. And this Ramban, quoted by Tzvi Glat, Hashem Yom Damah, then Moshe, quoting Tzvi, and like, wow, like a young whippersnapper, he's writing this, but, and he writes, I think he's wrong. And Moshe gave it back to him, but all respectfully. That's what and that's what we need to work on all year long, especially in the 3 weeks, how to have a good argument. Now, that doesn't mean, I cannot stress it, doesn't mean that you accept the outside as right in any way. Oh, he has his position. I have my position. There are times that you have your position, you don't know, you're not so convinced he's wrong, but this is what I hold. Or my rabbi holds this way, his rabbi holds that way, and you don't have any conviction in your position more than the other position. This is what you hold. But there might be times that that's it. So I'm very much in both worlds, Haredi world, Datilumi world. And I think there's beauty in both worlds. With Disneyland, I think there's beauty and the beast. I think each world has its challenges. Each world has its challenges. The Tilumi world is unbelievable. Look at the guys in the army. That's like the Gushniks, the KPYniks on Sunday night. Everyone's welcome to come to the shul to see what the Hesder world has done. It's just a different league of greatness, learning, fighting, giving up their lives for us. It's just unbelievable. On the other hand, the statistics of the Tilumi and kids going straight into the army and taking off their kippah after years, it's a challenge in the world that needs to be worked on a lot. Thank God, more Hesder yeshivas, more mechinot, kedan tzvei yeshivas, so Baruch Hashem, it's improving. And then the yeshivish world, not recognizing the greatest Medina Israel, but yet there's so much sneas and learning in that world. Each world has beauty, and each world has its challenges. And to be able to go ahead and be able to see the beauty in each world, respectfully disagree with the parts that you disagree with, but not like put them outside the machne, that's where the line has to be drawn. And if we could do that and have a machlokas the way Rav Moshe did with this young man, then Yetz Hashem. Then we can hopefully overcome sinas chinam. Then Yetz Hashem from the 3 weeks of mourning, the 3 weeks of celebration period.
I think that the Rambam says